The instant I pushed open that heavy restaurant door and was led to the secluded room in the back, I knew this wasn't the family lunch my aunt had cheerfully texted me about. The lights were too harsh, the table too spotless, and right in the center, a huge stack of official-looking papers beside a pen that wasn't mine. My chest tightened with that familiar crawl of dread. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. As I slid into the chair, my eyes caught a man in a crisp gray suit staring straight at me. Not at the menu, not at the bread basket, just me. And his gaze wasn't warm. My aunt flashed a smile like this was just another Sunday, then chirped, "We just need to talk about what's fair," after Uncle James passed. I'm Ella, 30, freelance UX designer. I know enough about contracts to fear anything that smells like official business. But nothing prepared me for this. Stillness draped over the room as the suited man tapped open his laptop. "This," he said, waving a stapled sheaf of pages like it was dessert, "is a family settlement proposal." The entire table looked at me as though I had just walked into the middle of something very serious, and possibly something very bad. He slid the document toward me like it was a menu, still smiling. "All you have to do," he said in that too friendly voice adults use when they want something from you, "is sign here and share most of what Uncle James left you with the rest of the family." My breath caught. Share? My mind flashed back to the last phone call with him, his laughter, his easy voice telling me he'd taken care of everything, so I could be safe. I felt a stinging ache and a twist of fear. Have you ever walked into a situation and just known something was off? Drop a yes in the comments if you've ever felt that chill in your spine when something seemed too smooth. But before I could respond, my aunt folded her hands like a judge, her smile tightening at the edges. The room grew quieter, heavier, like the air had been turned down. "I just want what's fair," she said, and suddenly, the words sounded colder than the polished silverware on the table. He leaned back. "We're offering a solution. Avoid probate court, avoid public mess, avoid delay." My stomach felt like somersaults in a washing machine. "I'm not signing anything," I said calmly, but inside I was shaking. "I want to review this with my own legal counsel." Their smiles faded. Not gone, just thinner, sharper. The man cleared his throat. The anticipation in the room made my pulse pound, and then my mind drifted back to something my uncle always said when decisions got hard. "Always count the room before you fold." I looked up slowly. 1, my aunt. 2, her partner, Devin. 3 and 4, her kids, Zoe and Caleb. 5, the suited man. I let that number hang in the quiet. And then, for the first time that day, a small smile crept onto my face, like a tiny lighthouse cutting through fog. "Funny thing is," I said, "I only brought one person, too." If you want to know who walked in after that and how this family meeting became the worst decision my aunt ever made, keep listening till the end. Up next, I'll take you back to how Uncle James' death didn't just change my life. It upended it from quiet memories of a tech-loving mentor to the first shock that made me realize my family wasn't what I thought. You won't believe what happened the night everything changed. I wasn't always the woman sitting across from a lawyer in a private room, trying to swallow my heartbeat and count strangers like chess pieces. For most of my life, I was just a regular girl from a sleepy part of Oceanside, California, where family meant game nights, Costco rotisserie chicken, and Uncle James' terrible tech jokes that only he laughed at. Uncle James was the kind of man who never needed a spotlight to shine. He worked in back-end systems at a mid-sized tech company, clean code, clean conscience. He drove a dented silver Toyota he'd had since the 90s, because, as he said, every time someone suggested an upgrade, it still runs like a dream and doesn't talk back. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't loud. But he was safe. My Aunt Claire, though, she hated that kind of safe. She wanted the kind of life that came with granite countertops and photos taken in Santorini. When I was 16, I saw the crack in their marriage start to widen like a hairline fracture in glass. I still remember that night, the 3 of us in the kitchen. Uncle James, printing out old bank statements. Aunt Claire, scrolling through Pinterest on her iPad, showing me vacation homes with pools bigger than our house. She looked up and said, "I'm tired of just making it." He looked back and said softly, "I'm tired of pretending we can afford to be anyone else." Oof. The divorce wasn't messy in court. It was messy in real life. California's community property laws sliced everything down the middle. My aunt saw it as a fresh start. Uncle James saw it as losing half of everything he'd built and still being stuck with alimony payments. I chose to live mostly with him in a humble little condo near Pacific Beach. You could smell the salt in the air if you cracked the window right. Friday nights meant Thai food and Star Trek reruns. And money? That man taught me what security actually meant. He'd sit beside me and open budgeting apps. He showed me how credit scores worked. Why paying the balance in full wasn't just a goal, it was a lifestyle. When other parents bragged about luxury cars, Uncle James would beam and say, "I haven't paid a dime in interest since 2003. Meanwhile, my Aunt Claire leveled up. She moved to Laguna Niguel, rebranded herself with filtered selfies and a new last name. Devin, her new husband, was a real estate agent with veneers and a smile that always seemed ready for an open house. They had 2 kids, Zoe and Caleb. Blonde, tanned, always smiling in Christmas cards. They wore coordinated pajamas like they were auditioning for a catalog. I was still her niece, but over time, I felt more like a guest character in her perfectly curated Instagram series. Every time I saw her posts, it was the same script. So proud of my beautiful family. Hashtag grateful, hashtag blessed, hashtag family first. I was never in those pictures. She didn't call to ask about my life or my goals. She called to tell me Zoe got into cheerleading, or Caleb had a science fair win. And when my name came up, it was about money. Uncle James would come back from those phone calls quieter, sadder, but never bitter. He'd make popcorn the old-fashioned way, and we'd laugh at dumb movies like nothing happened. On weekends, we'd go on coastal drives. He'd point at the mansions on the cliffs and mutter with a smirk, "They still have bad days, Ella. Granite counters don't fix heartbreak." And maybe that's why it hit so hard when he was gone. He had always rerouted around traffic, double-checked the locks, checked my tire pressure like religion. He was careful. So, when the accident happened, I couldn't breathe. It was a rainy Tuesday. He was driving home late from work, I-5. A drowsy driver veered out of their lane. There was a chain reaction. And just like that, the phone rang and the world went mute. The funeral was as quiet as the man himself. A few coworkers, some neighbors from the condo building, and me, standing there, my lungs trying to learn how to breathe without him. My aunt showed up in black like a Hollywood widow. Devin at her side, the kids trailing behind like extras. She cried loudly, hugged everyone, said she was devastated. But I just stood there, staring at his urn and thought, you didn't lose a husband. You lost control of someone who stopped funding your dream. And then, just as the guests were starting to drift toward the parking lot, someone tapped me on the shoulder. A woman, mid-40s, blazer, heels, and a calmness that didn't belong at a funeral. "Elena," she said, "I'm your uncle's lawyer." Just thinking back to that moment still makes my throat close up. Have you ever had someone look out for you, even when they weren't around anymore? Drop a blue heart in the comments if someone's legacy ever helped you stand up. She motioned to a picnic table under a tree. We sat, the smell of flowers and bitter church coffee in the air. "Elena," she said again, "your uncle was very thorough. He updated his will multiple times. He was worried about potential pressure." That was her polite way of saying, he knew your aunt would come for the money the second he was gone. She went on. "The condo? Mine. The stocks, IRAs, savings? All mine. Every dime that was his after the divorce and everything he built in the years since, legally mine. It wasn't billionaire wealth, but it was the responsible, quietly powerful work of a man who wanted me to be okay. I didn't feel rich. I felt protected. And then, right on cue, my phone buzzed. Guess who? The message from my aunt wasn't, "How are you holding up?" It wasn't, "Do you need anything?" or "I'm so sorry for your loss." It was a paragraph. Long, wordy. So sweet it stung. "Ella, we need to talk. Your uncle would want you to think about the family. Let's handle his estate like adults. There it was, that word again. Family. Every syllable soaked in implication, like I had an obligation because of shared bloodlines. I replied, keeping it polite. Once probate starts, we can talk. Uncle James had an attorney. She ignored that part completely. Went straight into guessing numbers. How much did he leave you? Just a ballpark. Are there any accounts I should know about? Like she was appraising a property listing, not asking about the legacy of a man she divorced years ago. When I didn't respond fast enough, the guilt trip began. You know how much I did for you growing up. You think Zoe and Caleb don't deserve a shot at college? Your uncle wouldn't want anyone left out. Every sentence aimed at the same spot, my heart. She wasn't just poking. She was digging for leverage. I forwarded it all to Elena. Her reply? Short and clear. Don't answer anything specific. Don't sign anything. If she wants to contest the will, she can hire a lawyer. We'll be ready. For the first time, I saw it for what it was, not grief. Not family. Not concern. Control. My aunt didn't want closure. She wanted access. And when I didn't give it to her, the messages changed tone again. Voicemails started coming in. Lawyers are expensive, Ella. We don't want this to get ugly. You're being difficult. You don't have to make this harder than it already is. I'm just trying to look out for you. There it was, the mix of sugar and sharp edge. Like a cupcake with a knife baked inside. Every time I listened to her voice, I heard less sadness and more strategy. So I did what Uncle James taught me to do. I wrote everything down. Dates. Times. What she said. The voicemails. The texts. Because money doesn't just make people desperate. It makes them sloppy. And when probate was finalized a few weeks later, I got the confirmation. The condo. The assets. Everything officially in my name. Elena sent a calm email with PDFs and next steps. I felt a flicker of relief. I thought maybe we were done. I should have known better. Within a day, my aunt emailed me too. Subject: family meeting body. Let's clear the air. Let's find a solution that's fair. Nothing formal. Just a few of us. Somewhere nice. She suggested a restaurant in Irvine. Said we could talk openly. No pressure. But when I read it, my stomach turned. It didn't feel like a meeting. It felt like a trap. So I forwarded it to Elena with one sentence. Will you come with me? She didn't reply by email. She called. Her voice calm. Clear. Sharp as ever. I'll be there. You're not walking into anything alone. If your aunt wants to play games with legal documents, she just picked the wrong opponent. The next day, I drove to Irvine. My bag carried more than just a wallet and lip balm. I brought every receipt. The will. The probate order. My notes. Screenshots. Everything. My armor was made of paper and quiet rage. We had a plan. I'd go in first. See who was there. See what they asked. Then I'd text Elena. One word. She'd walk in, calm as a storm about to hit. And that's exactly how it happened. The restaurant was the kind of place where the music is barely audible and the glasses sparkle a little too much. A hostess led me to the back, through the crowd, past linen-covered tables, to a frosted glass door. Private. My hand hovered for half a second. Then I opened it. And there they were. My aunt at the head of the table in a black blouse, posture straight like she was presiding over a board meeting. Devin next to her in a suit that tried too hard. Zoe and Caleb off to the side, awkward but present. And next to them, a stranger. A man in a suit. Slim laptop open. No menus on the table. Just a pitcher of water. And the stack of papers. Ella, you made it. My aunt smiled like we were about to order appetizers. We just want to talk. The man stood and introduced himself. Jason. Legal counsel helping the family explore options. The family. Like we'd all lost the same person. Like we were equals. I sat. Then I saw it, the top page of the document. My name. In bold. Terms like voluntary redistribution. Shared trust. Irrevocable. I went cold. Before I could speak, she leaned in, her voice laced with fake warmth. We just want to make sure everyone's provided for. Your uncle's will, well, it didn't really reflect the new reality. College. Inflation. It's just about fairness. Jason picked it up from there.
Calm.
Professional. Predatory. We're proposing you transfer 65% of the estate into a shared trust, just to keep things balanced.
Clean.
Adult. I didn't blink. I didn't nod. But inside, I was on fire. My uncle skipped vacations, worked overtime. He left me this, not because he was selfish, but because he knew what was coming. And now, here I was, being told that honoring his decision made me the bad guy? Phew. If you're still here, you're in deep with me now. Be honest, what would you have done at that table? Would you have signed to keep the peace, or stood your ground? Comment sign, or stand below. I'm dying to see. Jason leaned in. Of course, if you refused, it could get complicated. Legal delays. Possible challenges. Public records. Even credit impacts. No one wants stress, right? My aunt chimed in, the sugar slipping off her voice. We're giving you a chance to do the right thing, Ella. This is your family. Caleb is applying to colleges. Zoe has her whole future ahead of her. I looked around. A lawyer billing by the hour. A man who married into someone else's ambition. 2 teenagers who barely knew me. And a woman who once promised me nothing would ever come between us. I took a slow breath and asked, how many people are here again? My aunt narrowed her eyes. What does that matter? I counted softly. 1, 2, 3, 4. I paused. 5. Then I smiled. Not kindly. Not cruelly. Just ready. You're a lot of people, I said.
She frowned.
And that's when I reached for my phone and tapped the word I'd already typed into a draft. I set it down next to the untouched pen. Funny thing, I said. I only brought one person too. And right then, a sharp knock echoed on the door. You're not going to believe what happened next. When Elena walked in, the temperature in the room dropped. My aunt's face? You'll want to see this. In part 4, the truth starts to unravel, and everything they tried to hide gets dragged into the light. The knock was soft, but sharp, like a warning shot in a war no one realized had already started. The hostess cracked the door open. And there she was. Elena. Navy blazer, folder in hand, calm smile like she was walking into a conference room she owned. She didn't even glance at me before speaking. Hi, Claire, she said to my aunt, her voice polite but ironclad. I hear you wanted to discuss Ella's inheritance. For one full second, no one moved. Then my aunt's face cracked. Not with anger. With calculation, the kind of mental scrambling someone does when they realize they've already lost the first round. Devin shifted in his chair like the air had thickened. Zoe and Caleb looked at each other, confused. Jason, the lawyer, cleared his throat. Miss Elena Gray, estate attorney for James Delaney. Filed the will. Confirmed probate. You're currently discussing assets that have already been legally distributed. Her words landed like gavel strikes. My aunt didn't blink. We were just talking. About signing documents that reallocate over 60% of Ella's inheritance into a shared trust, Elena replied. Without independent counsel. That is not just talking. That's coercion. Possibly fraud. Jason tried to interrupt. Now, let's not escalate. But Elena had already dropped the folder on the table. It landed with a satisfying thud. Inside, every confirmation, every voicemail, every guilt-laced message, the will, the probate order, even the printed screenshots of my aunt's pleas dressed up as family concern. My aunt's voice changed again, like she was on stage in a school play titled The Misunderstood Matriarch. Ella, we never wanted to pressure you. We just thought you might be thinking emotionally about money. I laughed. Out loud. I couldn't help it. Money? I had sat through grief, silence, and broken sleep. I'd buried the man who raised me with popcorn and principles. And now I was being told I was the one being emotional? You mean the inheritance my uncle left me because he knew this would happen? I said, voice steady. You mean that money? Her smile faltered. Elena, I said without turning, Can you explain what happens if they keep pushing this? And Elena? Bless her. She opened her tablet like she had rehearsed this scene 10 times already. If they continue attempting to coerce you into signing, especially after being informed of your legal representation and the probate confirmation, it can be considered undue influence. If they attempt to access any of your financial accounts, that's attempted fraud. And if any of these conversations were recorded without disclosure. She looked directly at Jason, who suddenly found something very interesting on his laptop screen. Devin spoke for the first time, his voice low and strained. This is getting blown way out of proportion. No, I said, eyes locked on my aunt. This is the proportion it's always been. You just thought I'd fold. This is where it gets real. If you've ever been pressured to give up something that was rightfully yours, even by family, you're not alone. Drop a broken heart in the comments if you've been there. Or type, not this time if you stood your ground. I want to hear from you. My aunt's tone sharpened like broken glass in a velvet glove. You're going to regret this, Ella. We were trying to do this the easy way. Elena stepped forward slightly. Are you threatening her? Of course not, my aunt snapped. I'm just saying that things could get messy. Then let me be very clear, Elena said. Ella will not be signing anything. She will not be transferring funds. And any further attempts to manipulate her will be met with legal action. This meeting is over. The silence that followed was so thick it felt like time paused. Elena nodded to me, and I stood. I grabbed my phone, my folder, and my breath. As we turned to go, I glanced back. My aunt's mask had cracked. She wasn't crying. She wasn't angry. She was seething, like a gambler watching someone else walk away with the winnings she thought she was owed. And the kids? Zoe was staring at her lap. Caleb's face was red. Devin whispered something under his breath that sounded a lot like, "We're done here." And just like that, we left. Back, through the quiet restaurant. Past the oblivious diners. Out into the soft California air that suddenly felt like freedom. Outside, Elena stopped and looked at me. Her voice softer now. You did everything right. But my hands were still shaking. I wasn't scared. I was grieving again. Not for Uncle James this time, but for the idea of family I'd finally let go of. I thought that was the end. For 3 days, my phone was quiet. No voicemails. No texts. No fake apologies. And then, it started again. But this time, it wasn't just guilt trips. It was threats. In the final part, things go way beyond manipulation. What my aunt did next crossed the line into actual crime. Identity theft. Digital stalking. Even the police got involved. And the courtroom ending? Let's just say the truth hit harder than anyone expected. Stay tuned. And trust me, you'll want to hear exactly what justice looks like. The next text from my aunt wasn't even pretending anymore. Money has changed you. Your uncle would be ashamed. If you don't cooperate, things might get very complicated with the accounts. It didn't sound like a plea. It sounded like a threat. I sent it to Elena. She responded instantly. Do not reply. Save everything. If she can't move you emotionally, she may try to move you financially. And that's when the fear turned real. That night, I sat at my kitchen counter with my laptop open. I changed every password I had. Bank logins. Investment platforms. Turned on two-factor authentication. Froze my credit across all 3 bureaus. Click by click, I was locking the doors she didn't even know she couldn't knock on anymore. Uncle James once told me, in this country, your data is worth more than the cash in your wallet. And that never felt more true than the next morning when I got an email from my bank. Or so I thought. The subject line was perfect. Important security notice. Same logo. Same colors. Same tone. But something didn't sit right. I hovered over the link. The URL? Off. Not by much, just enough. The .com was replaced with company. My skin went cold. Someone had created a fake login page. I called the bank directly using the number on the back of my card. A rep confirmed it. We didn't send this, but we do see a failed login attempt from an unfamiliar device yesterday. It was happening. They weren't just pressuring me anymore. They were trying to steal from me. Elena told me to file a report with local law enforcement and the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. It sounded ridiculous, like a plot from a cyber thriller. But there I was, typing out every detail and naming my own aunt as a possible suspect. I wasn't scared. I was furious. 2 days later, I installed a Ring doorbell camera and a set of motion-sensing cams around my condo. It made me feel ridiculous, like I was expecting ninjas to show up. But it also made me feel in control. And then, just when I thought things had cooled down, a motion alert popped up on my phone. Someone was at the mailbox outside my building. I clicked the feed and froze. It was her. My aunt. Standing at my mailbox, phone pressed to her ear, glancing around nervously. A second alert hit my screen. Motion detected at the curb. The second camera lit up. Devin. Sitting in his SUV. Laptop open, typing. Almost simultaneously, my bank sent a push notification. Unrecognized device attempting to access your account. It was like watching puzzle pieces snap into place in real time. I hit record. My hands were trembling. Later that night, I pulled the login attempt data from my bank. IP addresses. Timestamps. And then I matched them with the Ring footage. The login attempt happened exactly when she was at my mailbox, and he was on his laptop. It was no longer paranoia. It was proof. I sent everything to Elena. She didn't text back.
She called.
And for the first time, I heard anger in her voice. This isn't manipulation anymore, Ella. This is attempted identity theft. The next day, we filed a full police report. Updated the FBI complaint. Everything was on record now. I crossed a line I couldn't uncross. But it wasn't me who drew it. It was them, the moment they tried to become me. We added a restraining order request. And we prepared for the one place they couldn't cry, manipulate, or Photoshop their way out of.
Court.
The courtroom wasn't what I expected. No dramatic music. No order in the court drama. Just cold air, neutral walls, and hard truths. I sat beside Elena. My heart was pounding. But I didn't flinch. Across the room, my aunt. Hair perfect. Outfit carefully chosen. Devin by her side. Their new lawyer was polished.
Calm.
Fake charm oozing from every sentence. Zoe and Caleb sat behind them like supporting characters in a drama they didn't fully understand. The prosecutor laid it all out. Coordinated login attempts, voicemails implying manipulation, fake emails impersonating financial institutions, security footage, bank logs, timestamped and damning. He didn't scream. He didn't need to. He just layered truth upon truth until it suffocated their lies. Their lawyer tried to spin it. Said it was a misunderstanding. Said they thought they were helping me with old joint accounts. He even tried to paint me as paranoid and overreacting to grief. I didn't say a word. Because when Elena stood up, she didn't just defend me. She unleashed.
Calm. Sharp.
Deadly precise. She walked the judge through the will, the probate confirmation, and the fake login attempt timeline. She played the Ring footage. She played the voicemails. She printed the email with the fake bank link. When I took the stand, I wasn't afraid. I told the truth. Not dramatically. Not emotionally. Just truthfully. Like Uncle James would have wanted. I described the pressure. The meeting. The threats. The fake email. The footage. I explained how it felt to realize your own family wanted to wear your skin just to cash a check. The judge listened. Patiently. Then, after a long silence, he spoke. And every word hit like a closing door. Clear attempt to gain unauthorized access. Use of deception and familiarity for financial gain. This is not a family misunderstanding. It is fraud. He didn't send them to prison. But what he did hit harder. He fined them tens of thousands in restitution and legal costs. Placed them on multi-year probation. Ordered them to attend financial crime rehabilitation. Granted a 5-year restraining order. And then, he referred Devin's actions to the state real estate board. Devin's jaw clenched. He knew exactly what that meant. No license. No more luxury homes. No more dream listings. Their empire? Shaken. Their image?
Cracked.
Their access to me?
Gone.
Outside the courtroom, my aunt didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there, silent, staring at the floor like she didn't recognize the world anymore. She had always said, family first. She just forgot what that actually means. I walked past her without stopping. Not to be cruel, but because nothing I could say would hit harder than what the court already had. For the first time since Uncle James died, I felt peace. My condo felt warm again. Safe. Still. No texts. No threats. Just silence, the good kind. I made coffee in the same mug he used to drink from. Sat at the same table where he taught me how to budget. It hurt, but in a way that healed. And in the quiet, I realized something powerful. He didn't just leave me money. He left me the tools to protect it. To protect myself. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. Because no matter who tries to rewrite your story, your family, your past, your pain, you get to choose what chapter comes next. And mine? Mine starts with strength and ends with no one ever taking what's mine again.